Today we're going to be reviewing Throwback. We're going to call these the retro reviews. And we're looking at a shoe that was revolutionary in the next step, coming from its predecessor models and leading into what this brand would ultimately become. And what we are talking about is the legendary Air Max 93. Like, this is a substantial shoe. We're talking full grain overlays, lots of extra plastic pieces, thick rubber lugs on the bottom. It was a remarkable shoe, but still at the time, it was one of the most sleek and aerodynamic designs that you could possibly imagine. You had, the suede mudguard, the leather overlays, the mesh, and of course that polyurethane midsole that most all of the Air Maxes were built on in that early stage, leading from the Air Max 1, the Air Max 90, into the Air Max 93. Now, this was the first time that the air bubble had escaped, literally exploded out of the back of the shoe. It was amazing to see this shoe on shelves, to see the light pass through that big bubble. Before this model, the Air Max was just a window, but then it became this huge thing. The color overlays, the big thick plastic swoosh, the mesh, the neoprene collar. There were so many things that were revolutionary about this shoe that then actually transitioned into the Huarache line, and you can see it on the shoe. The big thick lugged bottoms were even bigger than waffles, so this shoe was all terrain really. You could run on this shoe on grass, gravel, off-road, pavement. It was an amazing shoe at the time, and still is now. A lot of these design cues are what made Nike who and what they are, and truthfully, it set the design language for a decade or more. It was different than the Air Max 1, very different. It was very different even from the 90. And so this was not just a big departure because of the air bubble, it was a big departure because of the entire design. So my first blush with the Air Max 93 actually happened in college. I was a freshman at the University of Nebraska, running track and field for them. I was a jumper. I remember showing up to one of the first days of practice. Everybody goes to the cage to get their gear. At the time, I'm dating a junior. She was an All-American hurdler and long jumper. And so I'm looking at her shoes, and she comes bouncing out in these amazing shoes. And I'm like, I've only ever seen these on commercials. Wait a minute, we get these? And she kind of put me in my place because she was like, no, freshmen don't get these. And I was heartbroken. I'm like, yo, what do I have to do to earn this shoe? And so obviously the freshmen and the newcomers got a step down from this. But I actually didn't get my first pair of 93s until the retro came out. And so I was heartbroken for a long time because they switched our model up by the time it was time for me to get this shoe. And so I have been waiting decades to get my foot into this shoe. And when I did, I doubled up, got a couple different pairs, a couple different colors, and I was on cloud nine, man. I might as well have been a freshman back in college for this one. Okay, let's talk about some of the things that made the Air Max 93 special. The booty construction on the collar had never been done on a shoe before. You would start to see it become the design language of Nike, as these shoes closely resemble the Air Huarache, but the Air Huarache had the open portions. This construction is tongueless. So this booty goes completely from the eye, stays there all the way down to the front. Of course, you've got the Air Max logo on the tongue. This was a new iteration at the time, but it became a staple for a lot of years. This booty construction on the top is used in so many shoes today. I just did a review on the Under Armour Phantom SE that has a very similar look. The open mesh netting was highly necessary because the booty construction was all neoprene, so the shoe was very hot. It had overlays that were full grain leather, double stitched edges, the shoe was not breathing very well at all, so the mesh netting was highly important to try to give it some airflow, although I'm not for sure how successful that was. The front mesh was not successful at all because it barely breathed, and so this shoe was kind of a hot box. This shoe represented in all a quantum leap in design, even from the designs that they were already doing. It looks substantially different from the Air Max 1 and from the Air Max 90, and it would go into other shoes and other sports. You can see design cues in the Huarache line for the runners, also for Scottie Pippen's Huarache basketball sneaker. This shoe is when Nike became the Nike that we know of today. It really did extend that far because this is when they began to innovate even more. This is when they began to push it and do things that it might not have always landed with the public or with the athletes, but they were trying, and you can tell they were doing something special and different every single time. You know, picking up a pair of Nike kicks. This is when picking up a pair of trainers or runners was just as important, if not more important, because of the pedigree of Nike, than picking up a pair of Jordans or picking up a pair of basketball shoes. At the time, running shoes ruled everything in mall retail, and so it was very important when this 93 came out, because shoes, you saw commercials for running shoes at this time, and it was crazy to see that happen at the time in a way that you don't really see today. So that's my review, my retro review of the Air Max 93, a cherished shoe in my collection. Lots of memories on this shoe. Every time they retro it, you can trust that I will be back with another pair. Until next time, peace.